Hello, hello. Welcome to the replay. Sorry if you can hear my munchkins in the background. They're playing with the nanny, not unsupervised, don't worry. How are you guys doing? Everyone, as you're popping in, let me know where you're coming in from. Aisha, good to see you. Am I saying your name right? Let me know. Let me know what your name is, where you're coming in from. Let me know what you write. Do you write blogs? Renia, hello, hello. From Tampa, nice. Do you write blogs, books, papers? I would bet that if you, hey Shalon, I would bet if you write anything, thanks for the hearts, you probably have to write with other people at some point. So let me show you my favorite tool for writing with other people. Renia, blogs and books, copywriter by day. Nice, nice. So you probably work with a lot of people also. Shalon loves tools, I know. I'm going to be talking to you about tools later today. Can't wait. So I am a writing coach and editor and author, and I work with writers all day, every day. That's what I do. It's my favorite thing. Aisha, oh, like that French song from the 90s. Okay, nice, thank you. So let me show you Basecamp. I'll go ahead and spoil it. My favorite tool is Basecamp. And it took me a long time to settle on this. I will say I went through kind of an evolution. For a while I was using like a Dropbox and doing documents back and forth, which worked great when you were just working with one document. But what if I need to send them a resource or something and I send it to their email and then a month later they're like, where did that go? Can you resend it? And I'm like, I don't know, I didn't save it. And then I'm digging through Gmail trying to find it. Thanks for the hearts. So there's like this, when you're dealing with writing projects, it's never just the words, right? It's never just one Word document back and forth. It's ideas and even images and websites and resources and stuff that you need to send back and forth. And I don't know if you've noticed, but the Gmail search function is kind of terrible. So, like, I love Gmail. It's what I use all the time. I have all of my email forwarded from my domain into Gmail. But the search is not good. So if you're dealing with more than one project, it's going to go completely haywire super fast. So what I have started doing, I guess I started this like 6 months ago using Basecamp, and I'm going to flip you guys around so you can see what this looks like. And so I'm going to show you real projects. None of the books are published, and so you won't know who they are. And no one's last name is here. So just do me a favor and try not to sleuth out who these authors really are. They wouldn't appreciate it. But I'm going to show you real life projects. So let me pull up my Basecamp real quick and make sure I don't have anything super sensitive. I already kind of checked this, but should be fine. Okay, so let me flip you around. And if you have questions while we're going through, feel free to pop those in. So this is Basecamp. It is a project management software. And this is my workflow. So these are just the current projects, some of the current ones. I went ahead and archived some, I hope you don't mind. But these are a couple of examples I have pulled up. So each of these represents a different book that I'm working on. So there's like 3 books right up here. Okay, so if I go in, I click on this project, this gives me Jim's book. And because it's a book, it's not just Word documents, right? It is Word documents, but it's also, look at this, we've got discussions. So everything, I tell my clients, everything that you would want to email me, send me in a discussion. And you can see here, like for instance, I got off the phone with Jim just a little bit ago. And so we were talking about building his book website. So I have this little discussion thread here, and every time that I want to add something about building his book website, I'm going to put it in this thread. And he can always find it. He won't have to dig through his email at all. So all these discussions are just, instead of what we would send in an email, we leave here in these discussion threads, and they're always super easy to access. And you can see we have quite a few, 28. But if you title them correctly, they're pretty easy to go through. We have 28 of these discussion threads. And they're actually fairly easy to, we're talking down here, you can see we're talking about oh, it won't let me highlight. Calling and purpose / why question. So I always try to make sure the title is really clear what that indicates for me. So I'm going to go back to our project here. So I love that instead of email. And then these are files. This is maybe my favorite part of Basecamp, is that you can add files in here. So this is actually a PDF from Tim Grall's website, Introvert's Guide to Book Marketing. So we're talking about book marketing with this client. And I can just pop this PDF in right here. But right next to it is Jim's most recent draft. Gotta hop off. Oh, thanks, Shalon. We'll talk soon. Here's his most recent draft, and I can just, that's always there. I don't have to find it in an email. I can just download it and then make my changes and then re-upload it. Can you add Scrivener files? Oh, Renia, this is the bane of my existence. I wish that Scrivener collaborated better, but it just doesn't. No, there's no easy way to add Scrivener files to this. I might do a separate scope on working with Scrivener between authors, but it's just, honestly, it's really hard, and it makes me sad. It breaks my heart. I want desperately for Scrivener to be able to like collaborate between people, but it's just really hard. I record phone calls, so I can pop the recordings in right here. We have a Excel spreadsheet. This is actually a Google Doc. This is another thing that I love about. Oh, maybe this isn't a Google Doc, but Basecamp can use Google Docs. So if you share a folder in Google Docs, you just can put them right here in this file section, and then you can access them through Basecamp. You don't have to have Google Drive open, if that makes sense. And then another feature I love is just these text documents. This is where I keep all my like notes that I take on phone calls so that they're super easy to access. So it's just like having little, almost like Evernotes is usually how I think of them. So I love that all of this is just available within one workspace. And, I don't always use this, but sometimes like you can do little to-do lists. So if I wanted to, I could be like, I might call this manuscript that we're working on. And Jim's going to be really confused. This is like a real project, but that's okay. And I might say like, write intro. And I might assign it to whoever's on the project, and I might give it a due date. I'm not going to do that because Jim would be super confused as to what's going on, but let me figure out how to cancel. I'm done. Okay. But you can do a to-do list. So that's super helpful when you're collaborating also. And then one of my other favorite features is the calendar, if I can find my calendar. The calendar is also really cool because you can put in your deadlines and due dates and what you want both people or all of the people to accomplish. And you can actually add events, whether it's a phone call or whether it's a deadline, and that way everyone has a visual of how much time you have left before your deadline. So, does anyone have any questions? Oh, also if you're working on lots of projects, is available for Windows. Yeah, it's a web application, so it's just like if you have, an up-to-date Google Chrome or Safari or Internet Explorer or whatever, it should be the same. So, also, yep, sure thing, Courtney. So, because I work with a lot of authors on a lot of projects, I can browse everything that's going on in all of the projects to see where I need to respond. So, I can see every discussion that's going on with all the various people and see what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to flip you all back around. So, like I said, let's talk briefly about... I know, okay, so I do have a YouTube... maybe I'll post that on my website. I do have a YouTube video where I show you how I use Evernote, Scrivener, and Dropbox. And it's a little bit out of date. I need to redo that video. But it's on... go to paperravenediting.com/Periscope, and I will post that video on too, so you can see that in addition to this replay. But I love Scrivener. It's what I use with my own writing. And I think it's really nice and flexible for like when it's just your project and you're still holding on to it and working on it. But as soon as you try to bring someone else into Scrivener, it kind of goes crazy. So like the best way I have found to work with someone on Scrivener is to have one project file that's like in a Dropbox, and you both use that one file. But then you're both making changes inside Scrivener that the other doesn't know what's been changed. I mean, there's ways to track changes, but honestly, they're kind of messy, and I don't like them. This may be silly. So what I usually do with authors, and because I love Scrivener, a lot of people have found me through, thanks for sharing on Twitter, Renia. A lot of people have found me through YouTube because I do have this video where I walk them through how I use Scrivener for my own projects, and so then people are like, oh, I love Scrivener, and they start using it, and then they come to me and want my help with a writing coach. Oh, you saw it, and it made me buy Scrivener. Thanks, Courtney. That's awesome. And you read Turning Pro. Fantastic. I love it. So people come to me and they're like, oh, I saw your YouTube video and now I'm using Scrivener and I love it and I want to work with you. Can you help me with this editing project? And I'm like, or coaching or book or whatever. And I'm like, yes, I would love to. The only problem is I can't edit your stuff once it's in Scrivener. So what we end up doing is they export the different files, and I'll do a separate YouTube video or Periscope on this, but they end up exporting the file as either a Word doc or a rich text format, RTF, and then I just read it, and I make notes, and I record all of our phone calls, so we talk about it on the phone call, and I make notes like separately, and then I attach those notes to like our Basecamp or whatever. So I'm not actually in the nitty-gritty editing for the first part. And then once the draft is complete, then I say, okay, now you got to export it for good out of Scrivener. We're going to put it in Word, and we're going to exchange Word documents back and forth. Because unfortunately, that's just the industry standard. When you work with an editor, it's going to be Word documents back and forth using tracked changes. Maybe that's another scope. But I wish there was an alternative, and there's just not a good one. Very sad. Even Google Docs. I want Google Docs to be better, but the Google Docs track changes is like, I don't know. I don't like it. It makes you do the black line where things are like crossed through, and I really like the bubble style where it literally deletes it and then makes a little bubble that says this was deleted out in the margin. So I like that style, and Google Docs doesn't offer that style. So yeah, I love Basecamp, and we trade Word documents back and forth, and it totally works. It works with Google Docs too. If you don't mind that style of track changes, then Google Docs, and especially if it's really short stuff, like if you're working on copywriting stuff, Renia, or a blog post or whatever. When I work with clients on their web content, because I also write web content for people, and it's just, if it's a homepage or something that's like 500 to 1,000 words, then we'll get into a Google Doc together and we'll change stuff in that Google Doc, and that's really helpful. Do you guys have any other questions? Scrivener, Basecamp, Google Docs, Word, which everyone hates but everyone uses. It's not really Word's fault. Very functional. Yeah. If you guys want to, I don't know when I'm going to get the notes up for this. Maybe I'll just do a replay. I'll do really brief notes, but I usually put up Periscope notes. I'll pull that up at my website, which is paperravenediting.com/Periscope. Let me show that to you. In fact, I was really bad. I did not even get up yesterday's replay. I'm having a hard time figuring out the best way to record with the hearts and comments. So if you know how to do that, can you hit me up on Twitter at MorganGMac and let me know how to do that, because I want to. Okay, hold on. This is my website, paperravenediting.com/Periscope, and I try to put up the YouTube replays. You see that's one of the more recent ones. I also try to put up notes and a replay. So, here's one more thing. I don't know if you guys are interested in this, but if you do a lot of like co-authoring stuff where you're talking to either a co-author or a client or someone like that, my other new favorite tool is Uberconference. Uberconference allows you to record phone calls, so you both either type in, like if I type in Uberconference/MorganGMac, we log into the same portal and it records, so we can talk through the computer, Or they can call my special number here, and that is my conference line, and I call into that as well, and then we're suddenly on a conference call that automatically records anything that we talk about is recorded, and they can reference it later, and I upload that to Basecamp. So, just a fun tip. If you are working with a co-author, especially clients, because clients like to go back and refer to what you were talking about, but co-authors, sometimes you exchange ideas so fast on the phone or Skype or whatever that you don't capture everything in your handwritten notes, and then you forget later, or someone suggested a way to word something or a title or whatever, and you get caught up in the pace of the conversation and you completely forget to write it down, and then you're like, oh shoot, what was that thing? If you use Uberconference and you record the call automatically, then you can always go back and find that, brilliant tidbit that y'all were talking about beforehand. So, any other questions? I'm going to have to go get some lunch. This is my second day in a row of a lunchtime scope. Aren't y'all proud? How are you switching from screen to your view so fast? You're in Houston too. Hey, Houston. Okay. I think it's just a double tap. Let me see. Tap. If it's a good connection, maybe it's because I'm sitting right next to my Wi-Fi router, and so I'm connected to Wi-Fi, and maybe it's faster. I don't know. Periscope is still very new to me. Things happen on Periscope, and I'm like, why? Why is this happening? Why am I losing connection all the freaking time? Alrighty, guys. I'm going to go get some lunch. If you are working with other people on projects, Basecamp is worth it, for sure. There's also, I should mention this, I use a paid version of Basecamp because I upload lots of files. There's also Freedcamp, otherwise known as Hades now. I know Houston is so hot right now. It's kind of gross. I have not spent a lot of time on Freedcamp, but someone told me about it. Let me give you at least the web address so that if you want to try the style of Basecamp and not pay any money for it, there you go, Freedcamp. It is allegedly a Basecamp that's free. But again, I have not really messed with it, so I don't know what it's like. But people say it's like Basecamp. So, if you feel like you are frustrated by emailing people back and forth, that is a strong indicator that you need a project management system. And that's what I recommend. Alrighty, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to go ahead and commit. We're going to do another lunchtime writing scope tomorrow. So, tune in, and I will see you guys later. Bye. Have a good afternoon.